You got Moses, this guy who's a murderer, who runs away. God calls this guy Moses and says, Moses, I want you to go to Pharaoh, and I want you to not run because I know you're good at running, and not killing because I know you're good at murdering. No, I want you to do the very thing that you struggle with. I want you to speak. But see, to understand Moses had this speech impediment. He wasn't eloquent of speech. I mean, he just wasn't the guy that you want to give in a toast at your wedding. He just wasn't that guy. So here God speaking to Moses, and Moses is like, you want me to do what? Says, I want you to go and speak to Pharaoh and tell him that I said, let my people go. And God uses Moses' weakness to speak to Pharaoh and to let the children of Israel go out of Pharaoh's hand. God consistently uses the unlikely. He's predictably unpredictable. He consistently chooses the least likely to do his amazing work. Then we come to Peter. In our text tonight, Peter is being called by Jesus. Jesus is calling him because Peter is out there fishing. Now, the simple fact that Peter is out there fishing lets us know that Peter is not qualified to be a disciple. Because if he was going to be a disciple, he would have been groomed by a rabbi when he was much younger, and he would have been called out because the rabbis would come and they would always take the cream of the crop. They'd take the best of the best, and they would go and they would then follow their rabbi. They would go and be a disciple of the rabbi. Those that didn't make the cut, those that weren't the cream of the crop, they would send them back to go and do the family business. So what was Peter doing? Peter was out there fishing. That means he was doing the family business, which means he did not make the cut. He was not good enough. So now this rabbi comes and says, come, follow me. That's why he drops the family business and runs, because now Peter, this unlikely candidate, this kid that didn't make the original cut, now has an opportunity to follow and to have a rabbi. He has an opportunity to be a disciple. If you're feeling insecure tonight, if you're feeling insufficient, feel like you're not good enough, feel like you're not worthy, you pick the right night to stay awake. Because God is looking for people just like you. He specializes in using the unlikely, the unqualified, the insignificant, the insecure. He specializes in using them for his purposes. Peter follows Jesus, but as he follows Jesus, tonight, I want us to look at Peter's life, because as he follows Jesus, there's some things that we can learn that would help us in our pursuit of following Jesus. There's some things that if we were to look at Peter's life, I want to be like a helicopter tonight. I want to go and I want to just land in different snippets and different spaces in Peter's life. And as we land, we're looking for things that we can learn about Peter's journey as he followed Jesus that would help us on our journey as we follow Jesus. Because we're a bunch of unlikely candidates that don't deserve to be following this rabbi. We don't deserve to be a disciple. But now that we've come to this place and we've made a commitment to pursue him, there are some things that will help us as we're on our journey. There are some things that we can learn from Peter's life that will help us as we follow Jesus. Do y'all want to learn these things tonight? First thing that we'll learn as we look at Peter's life, first thing that we learn is that as we pack up and as we plan to follow Jesus, there's something that we need to prepare for, anticipate, expect, and go ahead and plan on. We can prepare for, anticipate, expect, and plan on. Here's the first one: failure. Failure. Go ahead and prepare for it and get ready for it. Because failure is a part of the journey of following Jesus Christ. And I love Peter. This is why I love Peter so much, because when it comes to failure, Peter was great at it. When I look at Peter's life, and I think if Peter can get away with following Jesus with all of his mess ups, then there's hope for Albert Tate. Because Peter would mess up. I mean, Peter would consistently miss the mark. And you got to watch Peter, because Peter, he would rise to the occasion, and then fail miserably. And then he rises to the occasion. You think, oh, that's some hope for this boy. And then he'll fail miserably. I mean, he consistently shows up and then messes up. He shows up and then messes up. It's like Jesus after the Garden of Gethsemane. He's sitting there and he's talking about this whole time about how these soldiers are going to come. They're going to take me away. I'm going to die on the cross. These soldiers, they're going to come. They're going to take me away. They're going to die on the cross. It's not about a big fight. This is about me surrendering and humbling, fulfilling my Father's business, yada, yada, yada. Jesus is saying that over and over again. Soldiers come to take Jesus. And this is a moment. I mean, you can almost hear the violins playing, the slow music, and the soldiers coming up in slow motion, and Jesus preparing to humble himself and to be taken away by the soldiers. And all of a sudden, a record scratch, Peter pulls out his sword and chops the guy's ear off. And I can almost see Jesus like, Pete, what are you doing? Peter, that's it. You in biblical timeout. You go, you don't say nothing for the next 3 chapters. You just go and be quiet. And then Jesus reaches down. He's like, man, I'm sorry. Here you go, man. Here you go. I'm sorry. Here, put that back there. Peter, you just don't get it. You know, Peter, I mean, he just misses the mark. He fails time and time again. I mean, they're out there, and Jesus asked him one day, he says, who do men say that I am? They say, well, some say you're Elijah, some say you're the prophet from old. You know, got these different opinions, people saying different stuff about you, Jesus. Then Jesus says, well, now, who do you say that I am? And Peter, just like a kid in the class, oh, me. You are the Christ. You are the Messiah. You are the one that has come to save our souls. And you can just see Jesus like a proud father, like, boy, now that's what I'm talking about, Peter. That's what I'm talking about. Flesh and blood didn't reveal that to you, boy. Boy, I'm so proud of you. That's why I love Peter. That's good. Then Jesus feeling good because he's like, you know, I am the Christ. I'm going to die. But then he goes on, he has this powerful moment where he talks about how he's going to go on the cross and he's going to be crucified. And he has this moment of vulnerability. He talks about how, they're going to come and they're going to reject me. They're going to take me away, and then they're going to crucify me on the cross. And then Peter jumps up and says, Jesus, I rebuke you. Peter, how you going to rebuke Jesus? You're going to rebuke Jesus? You just said he's the Christ, and now you're going to rebuke Jesus, Peter? Go somewhere and sit down, Peter. Just go sit down. It's like he has these great moments, but then he misses the mark. The one that I can relate to probably too well is when he says, Peter, you're going to deny me. Before the cock crows 3 times, you're going to deny me. And you see Peter denying Jesus. And when that cock crows that last time, you think, where Peter clearly sees how he's denied and rejected Jesus. And I relate to that so much because I can see within myself all the many times that I've denied and rejected Jesus. And I really understand, and I can really connect with Peter in that moment. But I love it because every time you see a failure with Peter, you got to always watch carefully, because every time there's a failure, there's always a grace. Every time there's a failure, there's always a grace, because as he failed with denying Jesus, just go over a couple of pages and you'll see Peter on the day of Pentecost when the fire of God came down with cloven tongues. Peter is the one that says, give me the microphone. And he stands up. That wasn't really a microphone. That's just my interpretation. He stands up and where he denied Jesus, on this day he declares Jesus. He declares his glory, and people are delivered, people are set free, and it's this amazing moment where Peter works through his failures and allows the grace of God to carry him to his place of purpose. Peter works through his failure and allows the grace of God to pick him up, carry him through his failures, and place him in a place of purpose. Parenthetically, it's interesting to me in that little passage in Acts where he says, because, people speaking in tongues, and it's just this wild, crazy moment, and people are trying to figure out, what is this? What's going on? And saying, are they drunk? Have they been drinking? And I love Peter's explanation. He says, he stands up in this godly revelation of why they're not drunk and what's really going on. He says, hear ye, we're not drunk. It's too early to be drunk. say, now if it was 6 o'clock tonight, we could be drunk. But it's too early to be drunk. This is the Spirit of the Lord, you know.